Imagine a secret meeting, not in a dimly lit warehouse, but in the soaring glass towers of global finance, where the world's most powerful investors and policymakers are speaking in hushed tones about a financial event so profound it could rewrite the global economic order. They aren't discussing Bitcoin or the latest tech stock. They're focused on two currencies most of the world has written off as mere souvenirs: the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It is the emerging reality of strategic preparation for what insiders are calling the inevitable revaluation, or RV, of these currencies, and the timeline is pointing squarely towards 2025. The chatter isn't just on fringe internet forums anymore. It has seeped into the analysis of respected financial circles who are connecting the dots between massive geopolitical shifts and long-term economic plans. Think about the sheer volume of physical currency, the billions of dinar notes and dong banknotes that have been accumulated by private citizens and investment groups over the past decade. This wasn't done on a whim. It was a calculated bet based on decades of economic history, which shows that nations, after periods of devastating war or economic isolation, eventually must reintegrate into the global financial system with a currency that reflects their true potential, not their troubled past. Iraq is a perfect case study, sitting on one of the world's largest proven oil reserves, a resource the entire world desperately needs. Yet its currency value is artificially low, creating a paradoxical situation where the nation is resource rich but currency poor. This disconnect cannot last forever. The pressure is building from multiple directions. International agreements, particularly with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, have long required Iraq to strengthen its financial infrastructure, reduce corruption, and stabilize its economy as a precondition for full global integration. The recent moves by the Iraqi government to digitize its economy, introduce higher denomination bills which often precede a revaluation, and crack down on black market currency trading are not random events. They are deliberate, calculated steps on a carefully made out roadmap. Each piece of financial news coming out of Baghdad, every statement from the Central Bank of Iraq about deleting the zeros from its currency, is a quiet confirmation that the engine of change is already running. Similarly, Vietnam, with its explosive economic growth, booming manufacturing sector, and increasingly pro-Western stance, is facing its own moment of truth. The Vietnamese Dong's value is also considered artificially suppressed to maintain its competitive edge in exports. But as the country climbs the global economic ladder, this becomes a liability. To attract serious long-term investment in infrastructure and technology, Vietnam needs a strong, internationally recognized currency. The whispers from Southeast Asia suggest that the political will for this transition is stronger than ever, with 2025 being a target year for significant financial reforms that would logically include a currency reassessment. The global elites understand this fundamental economic truth: when a nation's tangible assets and economic output vastly exceed the perceived value of its currency, a monumental correction is not a matter of if, but when. They are positioning themselves now, acquiring these currencies at their current historic lows, so that when the floodgates finally open and the official revaluation is announced, they will be the first to ride the tsunami of wealth that will flow into these emerging markets. This is why the quiet preparation has begun. The smart money is always the first to move, and it is moving towards the dinar and the dong. The question you must ask yourself is not whether this is real, but whether you are paying attention to the same signals they are. The evidence for this impending shift is not hidden in shadowy corners. It is laid bare in the daily news and expert analysis for those who know how to interpret it. Let's break down the concrete data points that are fueling the 2025 revaluation narrative. Starting with the Iraqi Dinar, for months, trusted voices in the investor community like Mark Z and Pimpy have been reporting on crucial developments straight from their sources within the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq. The key focus has been on the project to delete the zeros, which is far more than a simple currency redesign. This process is a technical prerequisite for a revaluation, as it would allow for a new, stronger currency to replace the old, inflated one, simplifying transactions and restoring confidence. Furthermore, the recent fluctuations in the USD IQD exchange rate on the official forex markets, while seemingly small, are significant indicators of the central bank testing the waters and intervening to manage the transition towards a new, higher equilibrium. The Iraqi government's 2025 budget proposals are another massive clue, with allocations for massive infrastructure and development projects that are mathematically impossible to fund with the current exchange rate. This implies an internal expectation of a new fiscal reality, a reality predicated on a revalued currency. The news of international banking platforms slowly, quietly beginning to facilitate transactions with the Iraqi dinar is a watershed moment. The global financial system is starting to open its doors, a process that must be completed before any formal RV can be declared. Now, shift your focus to Vietnam. The Vietnamese Dong story is equally compelling, driven by the nation's staggering economic performance. Vietnam has become a manufacturing powerhouse, a primary alternative to China for global corporations like Apple and Samsung. This influx of foreign direct investment creates immense pressure on the dong to appreciate. The State Bank of Vietnam is walking a tightrope, trying to balance export competitiveness with the need to control inflation and strengthen its currency for long-term stability. The key data point here is the consistent strengthening of the dong against the US dollar within the controlled trading band, a clear sign of controlled, managed appreciation. Economic forecasts from institutions like the World Bank consistently project Vietnam to be one of the fastest growing economies in the region for the foreseeable future, and such growth is fundamentally incompatible with a perpetually weak currency. The elites are watching these indicators like hawks. They see the political developments, such as Vietnam's deepening strategic partnerships with the United States and its allies, which often come with economic agreements that encourage currency transparency and strength. The quiet accumulation of dong by international hedge funds and asset managers is a bet on this very convergence of politics and economics. This isn't speculation based on hope, it's analysis based on the same organic, original data that moves all financial markets, central bank policies, government budgets, GDP growth rates, and foreign investment flows. The narrative of the dinar and dong being mere speculative plays is outdated. The current phase is one of strategic positioning ahead of a formal financial recognition of what these nations have already achieved in real economic terms. The data is building an undeniable case, and 2025 emerges as the logical point where these long-term plans are expected to culminate in a tangible, life-altering financial event for those who have taken a position. So where does this leave you, the individual investor watching from the sidelines? So the window of opportunity, while still open, is narrowing with every piece of positive news, with every step Iraq and Vietnam take towards economic normalization. The global elites have been preparing for years, building their positions while the vast majority of the world was either unaware or dismissive. The choice before you now is simple. Will you remain a spectator to this financial revolution, or will you become an active participant in shaping your own economic destiny? The path to potential generational wealth is not found in following the crowd, but in having the courage to see opportunity where others see only risk. The stories of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong are stories of national redemption, of countries rising from the ashes of conflict and economic isolation to claim their rightful place on the world stage. By investing in their currencies today, you are not merely making a financial transaction, you are making a bet on the resilience of a nation, on the industriousness of its people, and on the inevitable force of economic gravity that pulls a currency's value towards the true worth of the assets and labor it represents. Consider the alternative: waiting for the official announcement from the Central Bank of Iraq or the State Bank of Vietnam. By the time that news breaks on mainstream financial networks like CNN or Bloomberg, the opportunity will have already passed. The initial massive surge will be over in moments, and the elites who positioned themselves early will have already secured their profits. The time for contemplation is over. The era of action is now. This is your chance to be on the right side of economic history. This is your moment to conduct your own due diligence, to listen to the experts like Mark Aziz and Pimpy who dedicate their lives to tracking this intel, and to make a decision that could fundamentally alter your financial future. The potential for a revaluation is not a guarantee of profit. All investments carry risk, but the asymmetry of the opportunity is staggering. You have a chance to acquire a significant amount of a currency at a fraction of its potential future value. This is the very definition of a high reward scenario. Do not let fear or uncertainty paralyze you. Empower yourself with knowledge, seek out the original data, and understand the powerful forces at play. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and your journey towards financial sovereignty can start today, right now, with a decision to get informed and get positioned. The quiet preparation of the elites is the loudest signal you will ever receive. The question is, will you hear it? If this vision of the future resonates with you, if you are ready to move from passive observer to active participant, then your next step is absolutely critical. Do not let this information simply fade away. Click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now, because our channel is your frontline for the most urgent, unvarnished truth about the dinar and dong revaluation. We break down the complex news from the Central Bank of Iraq and the State Bank of Vietnam into actionable intelligence you can use. In the comments below, I want you to tell me which currency you believe has the most potential for 2025 and why. So let's get a discussion going. And for those of you who are truly serious about being prepared, check the very first link in the description below for a crucial guide on the next steps every savvy investor should be taking right now. The time for waiting is over. Your financial future is calling. Will you answer?